What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday, March 25th. This week on the podcast, I have Kirsten Pomales. I hope I'm saying your last name right. Kirsten and I discuss the importance of coalitions in the blockchain space and how it helps foster growth and collaboration. We also follow up on ideas of governance, like we discussed last week with Thomas Cox, and we have a fantastic conversation on that as well. So as always, be sure to subscribe and share this episode with somebody that you think would like to learn more about blockchain, coalitions, and governance. Enjoy.
This is the BlockHash Podcast.
All right, Kirsten, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Brandon.
Absolutely. I know times have been turbulent and hard to schedule things and a lot of stuff going on with this virus, but again, thank you for coming on and taking the time. Before we kind of jump into everything, can you tell me a little bit about your backgrounds and how you got into what you're doing now to give the audience some perspective on who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Kirsten Pomales. I'm a runner. I live in Washington, D.C., and I'll say I got full-time into blockchain late last year. Prior to that, I was more of a hobbyist. I initially got into blockchain from a things to build on perspective. So I have been working on a number of software startups over the years, and probably in about 16, I came across Ethereum when I was doing some research on potential ways to build what we were trying to produce software-wise. And after that, I just delved more and more into blockchain as like a software system and a distributed database over the years, mostly on a volunteer basis. And then more recently, I moved to blockchain full-time. So I guess professionally, my background was initially in politics. So I did coalition building in politics for a while prior to getting into the more business development and business coalitions aspect of software startup build. So that eventually led me to where I am today, which is working in the blockchain industry, running Coalitions.io, which is a firm that helps blockchain companies, nonprofits, and consortia build intentional strategic partnerships with other entities inside blockchain and outside blockchain.
Very cool. So was Ethereum like your entry point into the industry?
So I guess technically you could say that, although after learning about Ethereum, I actually attempted to teach myself Solidity for a couple of months, and during that phase, I was like, this is a really big barrier to entry. So I had known PHP in the past, and I wasn't too familiar with many of the languages that Solidity was based off of, and that led me to try to see if there were any other blockchains out there that you could build on. Turns out there are lots of them. And through that experience, I ended up discovering ESIO, which is probably the blockchain that I'm most familiar with these days, although I'm kind of agnostic to which chains I look at for different use cases. So I'm not really a maximalist for ESIO, but I think that they were a really, really cool chain when I was first researching, because the barrier to entry for development was so much lower because it was a C++. You could develop on it in C++, or really any WebAssembly language. So I guess technically, yeah, you could say I got in through Ethereum, and I like Ethereum, but ESI I would say is more so my entry point. That's when I got like really, really excited about it.
Very cool. Yeah, Ethereum was also my entry point as an investment, and also in mining back when it was doable on GPUs and you could build out rigs for relatively cheap. That was always fun, building those computers. I learned so much going through the hashing algorithms and learning about it from a more technical side. Yeah, that was fun. And it sounds like you have quite a background too, which is awesome. And I know today you want to talk a little bit about coalitions. Can you tell me a little bit about what coalitions are and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so the company that I run is called Coalitions.io, and my team and I essentially help our clients figure out the best way to maximize their external partnership. So right now, almost every software company out there has a set of external partners. Whether or not those partnerships are intentional is a different thing. So a lot of companies have a plethora of partnerships, but only some of them are giving them the ROI they've expected. Some of the partnerships are one-sided. Some of the partnerships end up failing after short periods of time. And what we do is we help our clients develop intentional strategic partnership strategies. So what does that mean? That means identifying what your company has to offer other companies or other entities, whether you're a nonprofit or a consortium who's looking for external partnerships. And then after we identify what your capabilities are, we identify what needs you have. So whether that's you need assistance gaining more clients, potentially you'd want to look at like a marketing type partnership, or whether you have a lack of internal developer resources, potentially you'd want to look at a resource partnership with another entity. So we help identify what you have, what you need, and then after that, we help you identify what companies out there that have that puzzle piece fit to be able to mutually add value for each other. Once we've identified those companies, we either help you set a strategy for facilitating your outreach and getting your team in an initial relationship with these entities, or we can actually help facilitate that initial relationship development, facilitate the contract development, make sure you're protecting IP and stuff like that. So it's kind of a full circle, full service firm as far as external partnerships goes.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, I talked to Thomas about quite a lot of detail. It was actually a really good conversation on governance. But I'd love to hear your side of it too, on what you think about governance and why it's important.
Yeah, so your last guest was Thomas, and he probably mentioned a lot about the IEEE P1245 blockchain governance standards organization. So I've been working with him to kind of bootstrap that, and what we're producing is technical standards for governance. So that's everything from figuring out how to actually talk about governance across different chains, which is very difficult right now because of such vast and different terminology used depending on which circle you're in. Everything from that to actually producing guidelines to so that companies and consortia and entities building blockchain solutions can have something to reference as they're designing their systems. So from my perspective, one of the things that I really care about is facilitating collaboration. That's why I'm passionate about partnerships. That's why I'm passionate about consortia and entities like that, DAOs. But it's also something that is so inherent in governance. So governance is essentially just the frameworks, the social frameworks that facilitate interaction of people through blockchain systems. Mm-hmm. And it's a fascinating area of study. And what's pretty cool about governance specifically is there is such a breadth and depth of research that is directly applicable to building blockchain systems that has been written over the past 100 years, because humans have always organized themselves in structural ways and tried to do things like create incentives for actors to interact with others in good faith, and reduce the incentive to steal or to try to manipulate the system in certain ways. So in economics and sociology, there's just such a breadth of intersections when it comes to the study of governance and the design of governance. So it's been a very interesting area to work in over the past couple of months. And I guess with my background in politics, it was kind of just something that was immediately interesting to me from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, it's very interesting. I remember when I was talking with Thomas about it, we were talking about how there's for a long time, a lack of focus on governance, referencing stuff like the Dow hack, and then like Maersk and like some ongoing issues with how some of these projects are run. And in a lot of ways, we don't always come together and talk about that stuff. But it's great to see that you guys are pushing those conversations and bringing more people together, especially in the blockchain space, because it's so competitive right now. You have one project that thinks that they're doing something better than the other, and then nothing really, and then you don't get these people together, like creating new solutions and ideas as often. And you got so many young people coming into the space that are trying to pick and choose where they want to get involved, and governance just overall is really, really fascinating too. So I'm glad you guys are doing a lot of work on it.
We've been trying to work in tandem with as many organizations as possible, just bringing together representatives from all of the chains under the sun, or at least the ones that we can get in contact. So if anyone in the audience is collaborating with the team of any specific chain in the governance capacity, we'd be more than happy to have you on our call.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put some info in the description for the episode too, so they can get in touch or reach out. Have you guys seen like a slowdown in collaboration or partnerships, like given the situation in the U.S. with the virus, with the market? Has that like affected your ability to pull people together to discuss governance, or even with coalitions?
So surprisingly, I think it's been the opposite. So it's kind of peculiar, because one would expect that with not being have as much of an ability to come together at conferences or meet in person, that it would reduce collaboration. But it's almost been shocking over the past couple of weeks how many people are more accessible because they're not out and about doing things. So I've seen a lot more interaction, not only on social media, but just people having ideas to have unique sorts of gatherings in a decentralized manner, or more like collaborative video conferencing, or and things like that. So it's definitely not been more difficult to facilitate collaboration. However, I think that that's also just, I wouldn't say it's unique to the blockchain industry. I'd say it's more unique to the software industry as a whole. A lot of people that work in this world are innately more able and used to collaborating in a remote way. So I would say that it definitely has not been reducing collaboration, and I think that over the coming months, depending, I guess, on how long this whole situation lasts, I think that we're going to see even more unique collaborations digitally. I think that it's going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah, so do I. It's interesting to hear that too. I guess people being stuck at home or in self-quarantine, or they've freed up, I guess, and don't have much on their schedule.
Yeah.
But I've definitely noticed it from the podcasting side too.
Yeah, and one thing that's been kind of cool is there's a trend starting on LinkedIn to post either the speaking notes or post a video of you delivering the speech that you would have given at a conference, and keeping the content rolling just in a different manner, and a manner that actually gives you more views than it would have than you would have had for your speech at a single location type conference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also been super cool to see. Anyone out there who has had a speech postponed, go post it to LinkedIn. People want to see it.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff, even associated with LinkedIn too. People that can't give speeches, they can't go to big events and stuff, and they're trying to find different ways to get their message out. It was actually really interesting. The Zoom app is skyrocketed on the App Store. It's the number one app right now, even over like TikTok and whatnot. So it's kind of funny to see that. But I mean, people seem to be adapting fairly well. Yeah,
I mean that's what humans do. Humans are very good at adapting.
So I have a question for you. What do you think about what's happened with the crypto markets lately? I mean, there's a lot of people that for a long time have said that Bitcoin might be a store of value, or that some of these other projects might potentially be stores of value or hedges against different things that happen in the world, major events and whatnot. And then some compare it to being a hedge just against financial markets. And obviously with the virus and the concerns there, a lot of people have been selling out of their crypto too, and really depressed the markets quite a bit on that front, not just in equities and not just in metals, but across the board. So it's kind of interesting. I know a lot of people are trying to put their finger on it, but I was kind of curious if you had an opinion on it, what you thought might be the reason for that.
Yeah. So I was actually just chatting with a couple of my friends on this earlier today. So if you look at what's happening in the gold market, we're also seeing decreases. Obviously not as dramatic as the sell-offs in crypto. However, the similar aspect with both of these sell-offs is the market, or the people that are, the holders of these assets are selling off less liquid assets and purchasing more liquid assets, aka just cash, USD or another currency, or even things like DAI. If you think about it, whether we're talking about gold or whether we're talking about cryptocurrency, they're not very easy right now to exchange for goods and services, especially if you're talking at in like an international logistics type scale. If you're a company that is manufacturing toothbrushes, for example, you need to pay your logistics company, you need to pay your employees, you need to pay countless services entities, and you can't really pay them in gold, you can't really pay them in cryptocurrency. I'm not saying that these companies are necessarily holding these cryptocurrencies or holding this gold. However, you know that the leaders of those companies have their assets in stuff like this. There's not, right now, and I know you mentioned this before, a lot of people are using cryptocurrency as a store of value as opposed to a currency to transact with. And I think that is the reason why we're seeing this. Even though there are a lot of cryptocurrencies that are very capable to transact with and very capable of, replicating one day the liquidity of the dollar, that's not the case right now. Not as enough people accept this currency, unfortunately. So it doesn't have the ability to have the same liquidity as the dollar, or just fiat in general. So people are cashing out of their less liquid assets and cashing into more liquid assets. So that's my take on it, at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with your take. It really seems like a big cash grab. I mean, people are scared and they're trying to go out and buy stuff and stock up on things. And, it is hard to purchase things with Bitcoin or with crypto or even gold and stuff like that. You can't just take it down to your local Starbucks and get a coffee, let alone go to Costco and buy the entire store. But I mean, it's an interesting scenario. Yeah. It's an interesting scenario because it in a lot of ways it could force people to innovate even more with things like Bitcoin and create more solutions so people can spend it, because it might drive that awareness. And as as these banks get more,
Exactly.
yeah, and as these banks get more pressure put on them by the Fed rate cuts and the injections and people panicking and rushing to the bank and the tech companies putting pressure on them, that also might be a catalyst for, crypto and digital assets in general to see an influx again, maybe even relatively soon to relatively more normal levels. But it's interesting to kind of watch it drop with that.
Agree.
Yeah, that candlestick was pretty crazy for one day.
Yeah. So even though, like I said, right now cryptocurrencies aren't liquid enough in comparison to more liquid options, if those liquid options turn out to go into hyperinflation, then they're no longer the best thing to put your money in. Because if you can't transact with these without, losing such large percents of the value daily, like we've seen in countless nations over the past couple of years, and that have experienced hyperinflation with these endless money printing scenarios. In situations like that, you do see cryptocurrencies overshadowing fiat currencies, and you do see cryptocurrencies gaining more liquidity, enough liquidity to facilitate, larger percents of the population using them. So I do think that that's incredibly feasible, obviously depending on how long it takes for inflation to hit with all of this quantitative easing, because they've been pretty good at manipulating the economy this far. So it's crazy how far they've been able to push back hyperinflation, but I can't really say when that's going to hit. So
yeah, I don't think anyone can put a date on it, but it does seem like things are accelerating with what's going on in the markets and everything, and the Fed getting that involved and pushing rates to practically zero. That's definitely not going to help the case. Yeah, literally. But yeah, it's cash. The outlook on cash in general is not looking too good with everything that's happening, and hopefully people reinvest before that day does come.
Yeah, I think that there will be even more market tells that'll point in that direction in the future, in the near future.
Yeah.
We'll see them.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up the podcast and kind of come to the end, for the people out there that might be more interested in coalitions and or governance, how can they learn more about it? And if they're interested in wanting to get involved, what's the best avenue for them to get in contact or to chat about it? Or are there like forums, or is the website just a good place to go? Where would you direct people?
Yeah, so I guess the big project that Coalitions IO is working on in the community right now is we're doing a piece of research on the partnership ecosystem. So what that means is we're going out and surveying blockchain companies, blockchain consortia, nonprofits, anyone who is building a blockchain solution. And we are asking that you provide us a little bit of generic, general information on how you're going about doing partnership work. So we are going to have the pre-registration for this up on our website in a few days. So you'll be able to view this probably by the time this podcast is posted at coalitionsio.org. Actually, no, just coalitions.io.
Cool.
And there'll be a link on the front page. So that'd be cool if you're building anything in blockchain. It'd be awesome if we could have your contribution there. And then as far as governance stuff goes, let's see, the best way to collaborate with the IEEE 1245 standards organization is definitely just by reaching out to me at my email. So that's KIRSTEN @coalitionsio. And I'm sure that you could post that in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have social media, or are you guys active on LinkedIn or Twitter?
Yeah, so the IEEE organization is decently active on LinkedIn. So if you just type in IEEE P1 P2145 blockchain governance, you'll probably be able to find us. We post any big updates we have on there, and that's pretty much the only social media we are super active on. And Coalitions.io is also on LinkedIn. So if you just search our name, you'll be able to find us.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put that stuff in the description as well and make sure people know to go check it out. But Kirsten, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure a lot of people will find it very valuable to know more about coalitions and what you guys are doing there with strategic partnerships and with governance and how important it is. And really, really appreciate that you took the time. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Awesome. Talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.